Hey everyone. For as long as we've had companies, we've been asking a pretty fundamental question. What's the absolute best way to manage people? For decades, leaders and academics have been on this epic quest for a single, unified theory of HR, a kind of master blueprint. So today we're going to dig into the evolution of that search, from really simple rules to a much more dynamic and, frankly, a much more realistic way of thinking about it.
So let's just dive right in with the big one. The question that really drives this whole field. Is there actually one best practice? One single right way to manage people that works for every single company in every industry all the time? It sounds like such a simple question, right? But as you'll see, the answer has become incredibly complex.
So to really get how we arrived at this new way of thinking, we're going to trace the whole journey. We'll start with that initial search for the perfect HR model, and we'll map out the core forces that are shaping literally every business. Then we're going to hit that pivotal moment when HR was finally linked to performance, explore why even those strategic models started to crack under pressure, and then finally, we'll introduce a really powerful new framework that's built not on rules, but on managing tensions. Okay, so the story really kicks off with this simple idea that if you could just design the right HR blueprint, you could basically build the perfect organization. For the longest time, the thinking was pretty straightforward. Find the right set of rules, apply them consistently, and boom, you get great results. But reality turned out to be a whole lot messier. The world and the workforce just became way more complex, and that idea of a single, simple blueprint, it just kind of shattered. So look, you can't build a strategy in a vacuum, right? You have to understand the landscape. And a lot of the early HR models focused on just that, mapping the environment, which they basically saw as being shaped by two big sets of forces. And the core idea here was pretty simple, really. Every single HR decision you make is being pulled and pushed by two different worlds. You've got the internal environment, that's everything happening inside your company's walls, and then you have the external environment, which is everything happening outside that you have no choice but to react to. Let's break those down. So internally, you've got forces like unions, which obviously shape everything from pay to how you hire. You've got your unique organizational culture, those core values and beliefs. The source material actually points to the culture at Tata, which is get the best people and set them free. Pretty cool. You also have that natural built-in conflict between what an individual wants and what the organization needs. And finally, you've got professional bodies that set the standards for HR itself. And then, of course, there's everything going on outside your door. You've got economic factors like the labor market and inflation, which directly hit your bottom line and what you can pay people. You've got political and legal forces, like labor laws, which set hard rules you have to follow, no exceptions. Technology is in a constant state of flux, always upgrading jobs and demanding new skills. And demographics are totally changing the face of the workforce, making it more diverse and more educated than at any point in history. Now, mapping all these forces was absolutely crucial, but it was really just the beginning. The real revolution, the game changer, came when researchers started asking a new question. Can HR do more than just react to all this stuff? Can it actually drive business results? And that question, right there, led to the birth of what we now call Strategic Human Resource Management, or SHR. And you can almost see the thinking evolving in real time when you look at the research. The 80s were all about big, abstract ideas, conceptual models. But the 90s, that's when things got serious. It became the era of empirical examination, as researchers started using hard data to prove the link between HR and performance. And by the 2000s, we got even smarter, entering an era of empirical critique, where we started to question and refine the methods themselves. And wow, this was the bombshell that came out of that empirical era. Studies like Mark Husselid's really famous paper from 1995 gave us the first major proof that specific bundles of HR practices, what they called high-performance work systems, were directly linked to a firm's financial bottom line. This was huge. For the first time, HR wasn't just a cost center anymore. It was a value driver. So we had a model. We even had proof that it worked. Problem solved, right? We can all go home? Well, not exactly. The world, as it always does, kept changing. And pretty soon, even these new, shiny, strategic models started to show some serious cracks. I mean, just think about the relentless challenges of the 21st century, the insane pace of technological change, the globalization of, well, everything, the fierce, no-holds-barred war for talent, and these widening skills gaps in the labor market. A static, one-size-fits-all HR blueprint, even a really good high-performance one, just couldn't keep up with all that. And this is what brings us to the really cutting edge of HR theory today. Instead of desperately searching for a single right answer, the new thinking embraces the idea of strategic tensions. It's a both and approach that accepts complexity instead of trying to wish it away.
Okay, so this is the crucial point, so let's get it straight. Attention isn't a problem to be solved, it's a polarity to be managed. It's not about choosing between two good options, that either or thinking. It's about figuring out how to do both things well at the exact same time. Let's look at the 4 key tensions that define modern HR.
So, first up is fit versus flexibility. On the one hand, your HR system has to perfectly support your business strategy today. That's fit. But on the other hand, it also has to be agile and adaptable enough to handle whatever curveballs are coming tomorrow. That's flexibility. See the problem? Too much fit and you become rigid. Too much flexibility and you've got chaos. You need both.
Next up, we have commitment versus control. Now, for years, people framed this as a choice. You either build a high commitment system that empowers people and trusts them, or you build a high control system that ensures compliance with rules. But you know what modern research shows? The highest performing firms do both. They find a way to empower their people within a framework of clear rules and procedures. Then we've got differentiation versus integration. Okay, this one's a real balancing act. In the war for talent, you absolutely have to differentiate. That means treating your A-level players differently to keep them happy and keep them in the building. But at the same time, you have to integrate. You have to build a cohesive, fair culture where everyone feels like they're part of the same team. So how do you reward your stars without making everyone else feel like a second-class citizen? It's a constant struggle. And finally, there's the tension between human capital and HR practices. This is a classic, right? Are you more focused on the people themselves, their unique skills, their knowledge, their potential? Or are you more focused on the systems, the performance review process, the compensation structures, the policies? For a long time, research was obsessed with the practices, but the best organizations manage both because they understand that great systems only exist to elevate great people. Okay, so you might be thinking, this is all interesting theory, but why does this big shift from simple models to managing tensions matter so much right now in the real world? Well, it's because these aren't just abstract academic ideas anymore. They are the core challenges that every single organization is wrestling with today. Let's talk about that differentiation versus integration tension. You see this massive $15.4 billion DEI market? That entire global industry is basically dedicated to cracking this one tension. How do we build an integrated, inclusive culture while still recognizing and rewarding diverse individual talent? It's a multi-billion-dollar question. Or how about fit versus flexibility? An estimated 81% of the workforce is expected to be in some kind of hybrid model. That's not a trend, that's an earthquake. And it is a massive real-time stress test of HR flexibility. All those systems that were designed for a perfect in-office fit are breaking, forcing companies to build new, adaptable models that can flex for this new reality. And that tension between human capital and HR practices? Well, look at this. 71% of HR execs now say people analytics are absolutely crucial to their strategy. Why? Because they're using data to understand both their systems and the unique potential of their people. They are literally trying to manage this tension through data. So we end up right back where we started, but with a totally new perspective. The search for one single perfect HR model, it's over. The new frontier, the real game now, is about mastering these strategic tensions. And that leaves us with maybe the most important question for any leader today. Is your strategy for managing people built to perfectly fit the world as it is right now? Or is it flexible enough to win in the world that's just around the corner?